So I have got my pen ready so I can talk about these lines. Anytime you want to interrupt, you're welcome to interrupt and ask me any questions. But I suppose I'll go to the most important one that people question, and that would be the lifeline. I'll just make sure that my drawing board is lined up, which it isn't. So let me line that up a bit. Try and line it up so that I can draw on there properly. Da da da. Luna from Australia, yay! Also sunny, yay! Winter, cold winter day, wake up freezing and you look outside and there's still no snow. No snow, and there's a blue sky and the sun is shining and it is freezing. It is so weird. But anyway. So I've just checked. Jeannie, you're here. Yay, welcome. I'm just trying to line up my dual output. I have the horizontal output for YouTube, but I have the vertical output for Facebook and TikTok because most people are on their mobile phones, so I thought that suits them better. And so I've managed to successfully set up the dual output, but every now and then the drawing feature misaligns itself. So it draws well on the vertical, but not so well on the horizontal. So now I've got it. Looks like I've got it so it matches both of them. Yay, that's matching. Perfect, we'll leave it at that. So I was going to talk about the broken lifeline first because that's the one people mainly panic about. They say, you know, what does it mean? Sometimes, I'll just draw the fate line here. The fate line sometimes runs up the middle of the palm. So sometimes a broken lifeline is broken in a way where it looks like it's a short lifeline, but then it actually hits the fate line and continues with the normal path. The normal path for the lifeline is to wrap around the ball of the thumb. And some cases it's broken, but it's actually continuing from the fate line. So it's showing a time where there's a big change. The change is like jumping from one country to another. So you might be jumping from your usual home place to an unusual home place, or it might be a massive change in life, as in stopping your career and becoming a parent, for instance. That's another pretty drastic life change. And if you look closely with these kind of broken lines, you often get little branch lines that might connect to the actual fate line. When that happens, that's gives it a more comfortable change. It's like instead of jumping, say if there's two buildings and you need to jump from one building to another, you're going to have to take a big leap and it's a bit risky and a bit scary. So having these little lines is like a bridge. So it's like if you have to jump from that building to the next building, it's actually feels safe and you're fine doing it. It's comfortable. You can just walk over the bridge. So those little bridge lines are helpful, but not necessary. So sometimes when they're not there, that just means that the change will feel a bit more drastic. Now, that's not to say that everyone who has this short lifeline will have it continue in this path around the thumb. Sometimes it looks like literally it is a short lifeline. And that is quite common in those people who are not quite grounded in their life. So they're not settled down. They may be traveling a lot, or they may be disconnected from their roots, their family, their traditions. So they might not have any sort of a connection to their family roots, and they prefer to just have a free life and just do what they please without any restrictions. Often when there's a short lifeline like that, the fate line is actually missing. So the fate line being this one that goes up the middle towards the middle finger, that's often missing because that person hasn't made a decision to follow a certain path. So that shows the path is undecided. And with the lifeline, I've just talked about that recently in my latest article on my website, DestinyPalmistry.com. If you haven't visited, go and visit there. There are probably like 300 articles on palmistry there. And so I just talked about my latest article about the lifeline, which I prefer to call it the energy line, because the lifeline represents your energy. So what kind of energy this short lifeline represents is a more impatient energy. So it runs out quickly. So it shows someone impatient. So they may decide they're going to do a 10-kilometer run, and then halfway through go, yeah, nah, I can't do the long-term thing. I have to, and then the energy runs out, the enthusiasm runs out, and potentially they get tired quicker. So when it's, all the way around the thumb, then that gives that grounded energy, and it gives that earth. So imagine like an electrical cable that's earthed to the ground. It's more steady, it's grounded, it's safe. There's a lot of energy that can go and continue on. So with that short lifeline, the energy is not grounded and the energy can run out, and it's just loosely flying around. So what happens when that is broken? So we're looking at the energy line. And welcome, Lola. Thank you for joining. Thank you, Jeannie. And yeah, so we are talking about all the lines. We're talking about mainly the broken lines, but I've got sidetracked and started talking about the short lifeline. That's what happens. But anyway, so when this lifeline is broken, when the energy line is broken, the energy has stopped. There's a period where the energy is no longer the same. So say if the break is clean like this in this area here that I've circled, if that's a clean break with no line in there, that's showing that for that period, that normal flow of energy, that electricity running down that line has been interrupted. So it's usually some kind of an event that happens in the person's life where they're no longer heading down this way. Something's got to change. And until that changes, it's a period of uncertainty. There is an uncertain period of anything can happen. And once the life is back to some sort of a normality, that's when the line continues. So it will continue on potentially in a different direction, because this pause that has happened. So I'll just clear all of that. When the lifeline is not at clean break, like I just had before, if it's an overlapping break, I talked about that before. When it overlaps, it shifts over a bit more comfortably. You can skip to the next line easier than having this clean break. So that's not a clean break, that's called an overlapping break. And like I mentioned earlier, sometimes these breaks have these connecting lines. And the connecting line acts like a bridge, and that bridge is that safety buffer of that change. So it makes the change in life a bit smoother. So there's examples of that. Say if a person is married with kids and they got problems in the marriage, and one of the partners decides that they're going to leave, so they are planning to separate. So when you plan the separation, you're ready for it. You think about what you're going to do with this new life, what kind of things you're going to have to do to make the comfortable life. So that little bridge shows that you're able to start planning, and then when you're ready, you cross the bridge to the new way of life. Without the bridge, it just makes it, I suppose, a little bit more rougher change. And like if it's not overlapping like before, then it's likely the change is sudden. It would be like, okay, tomorrow I have to change my life. Tomorrow I'm getting on a plane and I'm going to leave the country. Sudden change happens within days, and that change will become permanent. And this shows that it's a more difficult change because they've had to, they haven't had that bridge to connect those two separate lifestyles together. So that electrical connection is broken, and trying to find that connection again so that the energy will continue to run smooth. So that period of uncertainty, that can be, a dangerous period. So it can be a dangerous period because of the uncertainty of it. So thank you, people. We've got the multi-stream happening. Hopefully, I don't know if TikTok chat's showing up here. It's supposed to be, but I can't see it yet. I know I'm streaming to TikTok. I just checked before, but I'm not sure if I can see the chat. Thanks, Jeannie. Thank you, Jeannie. Jeannie says, feel free to look at your hands, ask any questions you may have about your lines and features. I will just sit here and yak away, yak, until I get questions. I don't want to sit here in silence, so this is why I just, I keep talking, keep giving away information. Spilling the tea, spilling all the tea about palmistry, and if anyone has questions, don't be shy. Welcome to type your questions in there. And in the meantime, I will just keep on talking and teaching, and until I run out of time. So slightly different time again today. I'm testing different times to see what works for everybody, and hopefully we find a happy medium with the time slots, because I'm down under and I'm in the future, and I know my daytime is a lot of people's nighttime and vice versa. So Right. Lola, thank you. What if the line doesn't go all the way down? Yep, that is very common, would you believe? Because I'll just get my interaction pen back. Here it is. So the lifeline, like I drew before, sometimes stops halfway. Sometimes it doesn't go all the way down at all. Sometimes it stops there. And that's when people start to have a little panic about it, thinking that it's supposed to go all the way down. But like I said earlier, the name lifeline is what gives it that scary part about it, but which is why I've started calling it the energy line. So the energy is not grounded. So if it goes all the way, that's grounded energy. So the person is very tied to their roots, tied to their tradition, tied to their family, tied to their way of life. They are person of routine, person who makes a routine and they stick to their routine, and they don't like change. They are grounded. They've thrown the rope across the river. They've anchored that rope. The rope is anchored and it's not going anywhere. So with the life energy line that doesn't hit down the bottom, the person might have thrown the rope, but it hasn't anchored. So, oh well, let's just live life, winging it. That's hard to say. That's nearly a tongue twister. So it's more like loose energy. It's not tied down into tradition. It's not tied down into family. It's not decided permanently. You're willing to change. You like change. You like freedom. You probably like to travel. You probably don't sit still very much. You probably like to get out there. And the shorter this line, the more quickly it's likely that your energy runs out. Vitality line, yep. Vitality line describes the I suppose the energy in a way. Like, I think people with a short lifeline can have a lot of vitality. So if it is a long lifeline, and if you call it vitality, it, I suppose, expresses the same kind of thing as energy. And so the vitality or energy might run out quicker on a person with a short lifeline. But in saying that, I've seen athletes, sports people with a short lifeline. So in saying that, they have a lot of energy. So it kind of contradicts fully calling it the vitality or energy line as well, because they still have the energy, but it just shifts over to other sort of areas. So the person might instead be freedom loving, so they're not tied down. They're not tied down to tradition. They're not tied down to their family. They're not anchored. So they can still have a lot of energy, but they're just a bit more ADD. I don't know. I don't like to use the word ADD, but somebody who's energetic, but they throw it in different places, and it's not. I keep saying the word, they're not tied down. So it's not anchored energy. It's not grounded energy. It's loose energy. So there's still plenty of vitality, depending on the deepness of the line. So that's another thing. You go to looking at the skin texture, the depth of the line. If the line is really wispy, that's when it shows there might not be a lot of vitality. If the line is deep and clear, then that shows more meaningful energy that's put out, whether it's grounded energy or whether it's loose energy. But the skin texture, the softer, more delicate the skin, the less massive energy the person is likely to put out. So the depth of the lines, the skin texture, gives more clues to the vitality than the length of any of the lines. So the length is only a small matter. You have to look at the whole picture, look at the depth of the lines. Ginny says, same as energy. I see it with the shorter lifelines. The energy can run spirit sprints, but they're not going to be in it for the marathon. They have energy to sprint. Yes, so I've also seen people who have the full length lifeline also only be able to do the sprints, that they don't do the whole marathon as well. So it's more about what type of energy. So they're, like I said, more grounded, more connected, more anchored energy, or is it more of the free loose running energy that's not grounded? So in saying that, you could also look at it another way, like not talk about it as how much energy the person has. That's only a small part of it. And that part you have to look at the depth of the line. If it is such a fine line, a wisp, if all the lines are fine and wispy, that shows there's not much energy there. So the other way that you could look at this line is like your family. Look at it as your family line. Like I mentioned before about being connected to your tradition and to your family and to your roots. So if you're not rooted and grounded, you probably don't care about your tradition. So if you look at it as a family energy line, people with this uprooted lifeline may have had a split family. They may be uprooted from their family. It may be that the parents had split, and so this child with this uprooted lifeline is not so connected to the family because the family has split. So the unit has split. And it's interesting to look at the lifeline and then also look at the thumb lines. I haven't got the thumb on this picture very well, but imagine if the thumb was there and you have these lines that go that where the thumb connects. We can sometimes look at that line and the lines above it to see if there are disconnections in that line as well. Excuse me. So we can compare other lines for that disconnection. Hope that makes sense. So yeah, so the lifeline that doesn't go all the way down, I suppose, in short, is nothing to worry about. It is just shows a different character compared to those that don't have it. And even with this disconnected lifeline, sometimes exactly, I can see in this actual picture, in this photo here, that she has got these lines down here that kind of look like they are a part of it, but they've sort of broken away. So maybe this person whose hand this is, maybe this person had a disconnected, broken family, and that might be representing the broken family, even though it's at the end of the lifeline. Sometimes these things can show at the start of the lifeline. I personally have this mark that I'm drawing here now. I have this weird mark where the lifeline starts in two places. It's not exactly how it goes, but so I've got if it goes all the way up there, that's called the ambition line. I've got that too, but then there's this two starts to the lifeline. So I'll just change color. So the headline usually runs something like that. So if the lifeline is starting together with the headline, but then also starts later on with the headline. So sometimes there's crisscross lines that connect all of those as well. So having that dual beginning can represent moving to another country. That's a big change early in life. So I have this sign, and so I was born in one country, and then by the time I was 10, we moved all the way to the other side of the world, which is massive change. So that on my hand shows up like a change in the beginning of the lifeline. It has changed from following one path to following another path. And it shifted, it stayed on the headline, which means connected to the family. Staying connected to the family, staying within the security of the family. In other words, it wasn't my decision to up and move. I had to move because of my family said we're going, and I'm only 10 years old, so of course off we go. So it shows up like a change like that. So yeah, so I forgot where I was going with this. Anyway, changes and breaks in the lines. So that can also show down at the bottom of the lifeline as well as a similar kind of a circumstance. Oh, that was a pretty good lesson if I do say so myself. And yeah, we'll talk about the other broken lines. Most of the time when there's a broken lifeline, there's also a broken fate line as well. Which hand? Okay, so I always look at both hands. You got to consider the non-dominant hand, whether you're right-handed or left-handed, you always have a non-dominant hand. Even if you're ambidextrous, you will always have a dominant hand. And so it's usually the one you eat with. If someone hands you a fork, which hand are you gonna chow down your food with? And also, which hand do you write with? Ambidextrous, everyone is ambidextrous. I can drink coffee, talk on the mic, and then do everything with both hands. We all do everything with both hands constantly. We are ambidextrous, but which one is dominant is the one you write with and the one you shake hands with. The one that you will quickly chow down food if you have to hurry up and eat and you just got one spoon or one fork to do it with. So we look at both hands. We look at the non-dominant hand for how things might be to the person on an inner level. Are they stressing? Are they feeling unwell? Are they happy? Are they making goals, living life? We look at all the lines to see, are they smooth? Are they rough? Is there marks on the lines? And are they different to the dominant hand? So if they're different to the dominant hand, it shows that whatever the person's life is on an inner level, what they want to do, their goals, their inspirations, their aspirations, and their worries, all the good and the bad, if that's different, it shows that something has changed. So if the dominant hand doesn't show those stresses and worries, and if it shows smooth and clear lines, it shows that the person has got over their emotional problem, or they've got over their issues, and things are going well, because it's like a past and present. Even though past and present can be seen on both hands. So the past and present are usually past or inner level, non-dominant. On an outer level, what's actually happening is on the dominant hand. So I say past and present because all the lines can change. So you can assume that something might happen in the future, but you can't guarantee any future event from palmistry. You can just say, based on the present, based on what's happening in your dominant hand, it looks like your success line is growing. So if you have a line that's nice and neat up here, and say if you're, 45 years old, say, this is your heart line and your headline. So if a success line starts at the heart line, that's approximately age 50. So say if you're age 40, and so you have a fate line there, I might say, well, you're at 40 now, looks like there's going to be a change here. And looks like based on what you're doing, by the time you're 50, you've got a clear idea of potentially having success with whatever you're doing. So in that sense, you can sort of look at it. This is how things are going based on what you are doing on the here and now and what you have done in the past. So if the person has done something in the past that looks like they're heading in the right direction, then that if they continue that, then it might pan out. But if they change something in their life, those lines can change. And how you tell if these lines are changing is they actually look like they're fading. You might get a lot of crisscrossies over the top. It's like trying to rub it out. You know, when you have a deep pencil mark and you get a rubber and you try and rub it out, but it doesn't quite come out. So that kind of thing happens with the lines. You might get a dry patch of skin. You might get actual crisscross lines, but it's like deletion lines, not trying to rub that line out because some drastic change happened. And then over time, these lines don't change that quickly. You know, they take time. So say over the years, these lines might disappear and there might be a new line that forms. It might be a line that suddenly goes in a different direction. So there suddenly is a new line that's formed. So that line is likely to show up on the dominant hand. So basically depends what you're looking at. So if you're looking at seeing how your life is going, look at your non-dominant hand to compare which lines are better. Better, by better I mean which are more clear, which are more clean, which has less mess around it. So if your non-dominant hand is more clear and your dominant hand is more messy and has more flaws, that can show that you haven't been following your ideal life plan, what your inside want to do, what you want to do on an inner level, and it's not panning out. It's not panning out because your dominant hand is not showing it. So that can happen when people go through sudden illness. Their non-dominant hand might show everything's fine, but their dominant hand might show that something's happened to make a change. So if you see that your dominant hand is not how you hoped it would be, like if you understand the lines, then that might help you to make clearer decisions on what you want to do with your life. Because they literally follow your train of thought. All the lines form based on your thinking, your train of thought, and the more you think about the one thing, the more it puts that imprint, puts a mark on your hand. So if you're focused on, for example, say if you want to build a massive garden business. So if you start by buying some plants. So the idea is there, and then you're growing and you focus, you keep buying more plants, you keep buying your plants, your idea is there and you're following that idea. You continue to stay on that track. The more you stay on that track, the deeper the track gets. So the deeper the track gets, the more permanent mark it leaves. So you might have a more permanent line on your hand because you've been thinking along the same lines for a long time. So if your thinking is not along the same lines all the time, if your thinking goes left, right, no, I'm thinking this way, no, I'm thinking I'm going to go that way, then I think I'm going to go that way. If you're constantly scattered energy and scattered thinking, it's never going to make a clean, crisp line on your hand. So this is why some people have lines all over the place on their hand. They might have their fate line might go this way, then it go that way, then it goes this way, then it goes that way, then it goes that way. And it's like not at all in any specific direction because the person is not focused on any specific sort of a goal. So that was my long answer to which hand to look at. So pretty much both, but focus on the dominant hand. We've lost some viewers. Hope we get some new viewers back. Hope TikTok is enjoying my views. I'm getting more subscribers or followers on TikTok lately. They seem to be enjoying the palmistry there. And I'll be making some more videos as well for YouTube. ASAP, I've started to do little snippets, and I'll do a few more shorts as well. And for my members, you're welcome to request videos. Do you want a particular video about a particular subject? I can make a members only content for that. And that's very helpful for the learning. I can hear my chickens. My chickens are laying eggs. But they're laying the eggs in the wrong place. They're supposed to be laying their eggs in their nest. Anyway. So, like I was saying before, when we look at these broken lines, the fate line which is the one that rises towards the middle finger, is very rarely that big. Often it is a lot shorter, and often it is not in one continuous line. That's often broken around just before the heart line. It's often just broken just before the headline as well. So for some reason, here's the heart line and here's the headline. For some reason, that line tends to break because people go through change in their life. No one really sticks to one goal their whole entire life. They go through change. It's completely normal. And so it can show up on this fate line. Some people call it the Saturn line or the career line. And because it's not really fated, but I still call it a fate line. So before the age of 35, people often go through change. They have families, become parents, or they get married. So that can show up as change around this area here. When it shows a change after that, that's usually changing career after the age of 35, and then going through to the 40s, there's often a change around this area that's showing a potentially another career change. Around 42, a lot of people start thinking about, what they're going to do. And 50 mark is when it crosses, when it starts from the heart line up here. So that time period is when you most commonly see the success line and the career line if the person continues to work or have a business until old age. I don't know if you can hear my chicken. It's just... I don't know if you can hear that. It's going off. Oh, it's funny. But they're laying eggs on the rocks, the silly billies. On the rocks instead of their nesting box. But anyway, how are we going for time? We got 9 minutes left, boys and girls and ladies and gentlemen. We've got just a few minutes, so if you have questions, welcome to my chat, and you're welcome to ask anything to do with palmistry. We sometimes get a little bit sidetracked and start talking about other stuff, which we started talking about the analyzing character, which is what palmistry really is, analysis. And look, Jeannie, I end up picking up a little mini, it's only a few pages long, it's a tiny mini book on graphology. I just wanted to get curious more about that handwriting, which was I haven't actually started reading it yet. But I just picked that up just to see what they've got to say. Not likely to use it. I will probably continue my normal analysis through hands, and doing more fingerprint analysis. And I'll be posting to Facebook my next free palm reading sessions for the locals in Brisbane area. If you are local, I will post to have a free palm reading in exchange for some fingerprints. I've got these sheets I've made up where we put their fingerprints down. I take a few notes down for my study, for my new book that I'm writing. So for that fingerprint, for those fingerprints, I will do a free palm reading in exchange. So I will post, I've done that a couple of weeks ago. I'll post again on Facebook when I'll be doing that again. If you don't follow me on Facebook, my profile is facebook.com/Destiny Palmistry, or my main page is facebook.com/Life and Destiny Palmistry. I have over 14,000 followers on Life and Destiny Palmistry. I've got nearly 8,000 followers on YouTube. I've got over 700 followers on TikTok, and over 2,000 followers on my main Facebook profile, Destiny Palmistry. So you're welcome to follow me on all those channels as well, because I'm trying to post as often as possible to help people understand modern palmistry, real palmistry, not fake bullshit palmistry. I'm just trying to promote more of the practical, logical way to read hands without the superstitious kind of reading. So I'm trying to promote more of the realistic, scientific reading of the hands from a scientific point of view. That is why I'm also going into the fingerprint side of it more for this new book. And if you don't have my books, I have 4 palmistry books already. I've got Destiny Palmistry Character Awareness, that's the first one. Then Destiny Palmistry All the Lines. My third one is Life and Destiny Palmistry, the Complete Guide. And then I have the SIMIAN line book, which is this one. I've got that here. SIMIAN line Conversations. So that is mainly focused the SIMIAN line only. That I discuss in the beginning some about the basics of the shape of the hand, etc., because that always comes into play. So that was my 4th book. Now I'm writing a New Age palmistry book, which is mostly about the fingerprints. Of course, for those who don't have my books, that fingerprint book will also have sections for the fundamental basics of palmistry, which is about the shape of the hand, etc. as well. So yeah, how's it going, everybody? 4 minutes left. Gonna throw any last minute questions at me before I sign out? Welcome to leave me questions afterwards. I have my posts section on YouTube where the community chat, where people can post their questions in the community chat. You go to my YouTube channel for that. Currently TikTok, I'm getting a lot of people trying to message me just saying hi, everybody's saying hi, but I'm not answering those hi messages until and unless I get some sort of a subscription with TikTok. But currently If you want to chat, best way is to join one of my pages on Facebook or YouTube membership. Facebook subscription is best way to have a chat with me. So looks like we are no more questions today. So I might sign off at that. We'll clear those pictures, and I'll do another live again next week. I shall check out my calendar and I shall put in a schedule for next week. It's could be a Tuesday, more than likely Tuesday. And next week, that might be a Monday evening if you're in the US, and very early Tuesday morning if you're in India, depending on what part of the world. If you're in the UK, it's probably midnight. So if you stay up late, you might want to join me from the UK on a Tuesday. But yeah, thanks for the questions, and thanks for joining me today, and I look forward to doing another live stream very soon. I shall put on my ending video just so while I shut up the shop. Thanks everyone for joining me. See you later.